Celtics, maybe the greatest passing team of all time.
The way the ball moved was beautiful. Only lost one game at home. Only one.
Angry Old Hoops here, and I'm going to do something a little bit different. Self-researched NBA Facts had an interesting video about when Michael Jordan was swept by Larry Bird, and I had done one comparing Michael Jordan's performance when he got swept versus LeBron's performance when he got swept for the first time in 2007. Mine showed more footage comparing how the players themselves played, but self-researched video had some really good points that I wanted to talk about, and also made me want to elaborate on a couple of details from my previous video. Similar to self-researched NBA Facts and other old heads, it's very annoying when LeBron fans, again, don't care about context, don't care about anything related to the story that they're being fed, and just want anything that anyone will give them to help them continue to live in denial. So let's walk through this with baby steps, because I kind of just quickly went over the fact that back then it was a best of 5, meaning you only had to win 3, which is really a big deal. If you look at how many times there were gentlemen sweeps, meaning the other team managed to get in another win, at least one win, if it went 4 games. Of course, now it's best of 7. My video got into the performances of the players themselves. I showed footage of Michael Jordan playing against that Celtics team and footage of LeBron James playing against the Spurs team. And I also got into the teammate contributions. And that was to combat the narrative that LeBron James had no help and carried garbage to the finals, and it was an accomplishment that he got there at all, considering that he had no help. And I destroyed that in my video. They also want to make it seem like that Spurs team was an almost unfair opponent, although I don't think anyone's listed them as one of the best teams in history. The Celtics, on the other hand, have been listed as one of the best teams in history, and in fact are more regularly referred to as the best team ever.
If you lined all the great teams up in history and had a tournament, they win. They're going to win. They're going to beat them all. They can beat you any which way. This is the greatest team of all time.
For some reason, we only hear now about some of the Michael Jordan Bulls teams or the Warriors teams, but the honest truth is that it was this Celtics team, and they just seem to be unfairly better than people.
But we were fucking shit up. And if we ballin' today, we be fucking shit up today, without a doubt.
It was so good and so predictably good, but it's almost unfair. It was sinful. They'd embarrass people.
That's little more than an opinion, something that I have professed, unless you're willing to go and look, which of course LeBron fans aren't. They don't want to see the detail for fear of being awakened out of delusion land. But the thing is, you can go and look, and you can perhaps have lived through it and hear the testimonies of the people who will swear that that was by far and away the best team ever. That's not the type of argument you can win. I mean, a lot of people are going to have their own opinions of who the best team ever was. But what we can look at is how those teams did against the other great competition. How was their path through the playoffs? I want you to look at the 1986 playoffs, and you see that, yes, the Bulls were swept. But you also see that this team that was one of the greatest ever didn't exactly beat the crap out of Jordan and then struggle with other people. You see their dominance. Atlanta only won 1 game in the second round, which obviously in the second round, they went to 7 games. If it had been a 5 game, maybe that would have been a sweep too. But you see in the Eastern Conference Finals, Boston wins with a sweep, 4-0. This is a dominant team. They win 4-2 against Houston in the finals. It was a dominant team. Now let's flip that around and look at the team that swept LeBron. The Spurs didn't sweep anyone except for LeBron. LeBron was the weakest competition that they saw in the entire playoff run, which tells you what a joke the East was. Now let's look at 2018 and the team that swept LeBron again. And once again, the Warriors didn't sweep anyone in their playoff run except for LeBron James. So once again, the softest competition that the West saw in their entire playoff run was when they encountered the best from the East. This is why we make fun of the Eastern Conference. I remember these days vividly, being angry, watching the West beat each other up, knowing that all of those teams deserved to be there more than any of the teams from the East that LeBron James was being given a cakewalk through. This is why we don't respect those trips to the finals, or it's one of the many reasons. Since LeBron fans and the Nick Wrights out there want to grab hold of a word like swept and run with it and be like, oh, got swept by Bird, I think it's more important than ever to show this, which I did show in my original video, but I don't think I elaborated on it enough. I don't think people actually understood what I was showing. They came that close, that ball going in and back out, of not getting swept. Isn't it worth noting that the format changed when LeBron James came into the league? It's just another piece of the, hey, let's make it a little bit easier, the participation trophy era. And I'm not saying I'm necessarily against the 7-game series, but it is yet another thing that's saying, well, let's give him more of a chance. Jim has a great concept here. Let's look at how common it was to get swept in the first round during this 5-game elimination setup era. And he asks, and rightfully so, it's good to get the brain working. Do you think it was common or not common? And from 1984 to 2002, a 19-year span, he looks at 38 series, first rounds. 18 of those were sweeps. That's almost 50%. So it was very common. And the significance of this is that LeBron fans want to shove that Jordan got swept by Bird in Jordan fans' faces as if it's some sort of humiliation, like something uncommon that just didn't happen, when it was happening about 50% of the time in that 5-game first round era. 50% of the time. That makes me think about the 7-game format in a whole nother way. I mean, it really changed things. Remember, we're talking about the first round, and we're talking about Michael Jordan's second season in the NBA, in which he missed most of the season with an injury, and this is supposed to be some sort of big, humiliating moment. In my video, I pointed out that while LeBron fans are saying, you got swept, your second season in the NBA in the first round against the greatest team that's ever existed, LeBron James wasn't even making the playoffs. How do you make fun of somebody who made it further than the other player? And LeBron's had plenty of playoff failures and meltdowns, and the inability to get to the finals, the inability to perform well in the finals. But let's focus on the finals, because first we looked at first round sweeps. Now we're going to look at finals sweeps. And in the history of the NBA, there have been 78 finals. 9 of the series were 4-0 sweeps. That's a lot smaller percentage. Again, let me do baby steps here. In the time that Michael Jordan got swept in the 5-game series against Larry Bird, that was happening about 50% of the time. When LeBron James was getting swept in the finals in 7-game series, it was happening almost never. Except, of course, when he went to the finals. And in that small number, meaning it hasn't happened to very many people. Guess whose face is shining with crap all over it? If you still don't know who I'm talking about, here's another clue. It's only happened twice in the last 22 years. Of the 9 times it's happened ever, 2 of those times have been in semi-recent history, or at least to an old head like me, that's semi-recent history. Self-research points out that in Game 2, it went to double overtime. So, Jordan got swept, but it wasn't a humiliating sweep, whereas LeBron's were humiliating, like just ass beatings. And self-research says, everybody talks about Jordan's 63-point game, but not enough people talk about Game 1 with his 49 points. Well, I did in my video, and I showed some clips from both of them, and his shooting percentage was extremely high considering his point output. Well, that's enough of a revisit to that original video that I did, but I was inspired by some of the stuff that self-researched NBA Facts came up with and wanted to incorporate that here, and I wanted to do some baby steps, especially after encountering LaCuz today on the live show. I mean, these people honestly just listen to Nick Wright and Shannon Sharpe and repeat it. I don't think they have any interest in reality, but if ever one day you're interested in reality, I'm breaking it down for you in baby steps here. Angry Old Hoops.
That team could outrun you.
I never saw any better basketball than that.
They could out-defend you. They could out-rebound you. They could out-execute you in a half court.
Another interception. 8 for 3. You've never seen a hotter team in your life.
To wonder if anybody can stick with this team.
Ever was.
Here's Bird. 3-on-1 Boston. Pass back. Bird. What a pass to McHale. Vintage Larry Bird passing.
Larry comes out and proceeds to play what I believe is